This episode of PhillyFAME TV is sponsored by Top Dog Law. Now y'all already know who to call for any accidents or injury cases. If you want that top dollar, you better get that Top Dog. You can hit him up on Instagram at Top Dog Law or visit his website www.topdoglaw.com. Welcome back to PhillyFAME TV once again. This is Drilladelphia episode 3. For this go round, we're going to touch on, King Lord, the almighty King Lord. We're going to touch on his story a little bit. This strictly, my interaction with him. I did the interview with him. I think it's the only interview he done. So I'm just going to speak on that, the interview, my interaction with him afterwards, and my reaction to, the situation with him passing away and all that. His birthday was, January 4th. That was a few weeks ago. So, and I've been seeing like different content on YouTube featuring King Lord, So I felt as though this was a good time and a good joint to do at this particular time. So I'm going to get right into it. I ain't really know him like that. I wasn't too familiar with him, prior to the interview or none of that. This was around August 2019. I was coming to film Leak Moss. Me and him was talking about doing an interview for a minute, but he never really wanted to, like Leak Moss was a background kind of guy. He never really wanted that light and all that. But at this particular time, Ab locked up and stuff, so he felt like, he wanted to step up and hold it down for OBH. So he's, getting active with the music and stuff like that. And he reached out like, yo, I'm finally ready to do an interview, I'm ready, So I slid up on him, and King Lord was in there with him. They was in an apartment, whatever. King Lord was in there. They was rolling up, he just busting it up a little bit before the interview and all that. And so me and Leak Moss did the joint with him. And then when me and him was done, he's like, yo, you should do a joint with my man. He basically was putting me on to King Lord, letting me know a little bit about him. Because like I said, I wasn't familiar with him. I didn't know who he was. And, so me and King Lord started busting up a little bit so I could get a little familiar with him. So I could have some questions to ask him. And he was telling me a little bit about him, like what he got going on and all of that stuff. So, we sat down and we did the interview. It was an interesting interview because except for somebody that I didn't know, I just know him on the strength of Leak Moss. So I was just doing it on the strength of Leak. But, some of the stuff he was saying. And then I was looking him up too at the same time before we did the interview, looking him up as he was telling me stuff. So I looked at some of his vids and I seen he had a little wave, like he had some views and stuff like that. So some of the stuff he's saying with the interview, made a little interesting interview. Got, a nice response when I put it out on YouTube, like far as views and comments and stuff like that. But some of the stuff he's saying definitely was like caught my attention, like man, like. But yeah, interesting story though, for sure. Like he basically explaining like he was originally from Hunting Park, F.A.M.E Butler. That's a notorious block back in the day. My cousin used to live on that block. RP my cousin man, aka Juan. He from that block. That was a big get money block back in the day. And if I ain't mistaken, I believe Kabani Savage, used to be out there back in the day when he was around town. He was out here running around. If I ain't mistaken, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Kabani Savage should be down there. But yeah, he said he grew up down there originally, and then, he was back and forth to South Philly at a point in time. And then when he turned like 11, he was down, he made a long-term move down South Philly or whatever. And he was explaining like when he moved down there, it was a war zone, from the rip. Like, all right, so you say you're originally from SP,
yeah,
South Philly.
South Philly, between South and Dickinson.
All right,
yeah,
so go ahead. So people that don't know, just describe your upbringing, what it was like growing up in that environment and all that.
Well, originally, I used to live down Hunting Park, F.A.M.E Butler and shit, So I was like back and forth, if anybody know about F.A.M.E Butler and shit, that shit used to be hectic down that joint, like real crazy. So I'm going back and forth between there and the pit. I ain't stay down South Philly for good till I was like 11 and shit. So soon as I jumped in there, you feel me, that shit was like a war zone from the gun bust, you feel me? Like niggas ready to bust my shit open, just living on the block, so you know. You gotta hurry up and get adapted to that shit fast, so like, that's what I had to do, you feel me?
Okay. I mean, the block that he was at, like 27th and Dickinson, like they was going through it with another block. We ain't got to speak on who. I mean, it's well documented, you know, the situation. Like, so he said he basically was, I mean, was pretty much thrust into that by moving to that block. So he's like, he had to pretty much adapt to it. And I interview a lot of people from South Philly and a lot of, you know, street guys from that area, and a lot of them talk about, you know, being in the mix at an early age, at a young age. Like, so South Philly, like one of the parts of the city where people gravitate to that early, like they start playing with guns and stuff like that early in South Philly. Like, it's just like, it's different down there like that. I mean, it's places, other places in the city that's, I mean, people play with guns early and gravitate to the streets early, but South Philly as a whole is just known to be like that. Like, so King Lloyd, he's 11 years old, like 11, 12, I mean, and he explained in the interview, I mean, that he shot his first gun at 13. I mean, so he was active as a young boy, middle school age. Like, I ain't expecting to say that, I mean, but he was speaking his truth, you know what I mean? Like, he was giving it up from his perspective. And he was speaking on this stuff, like, basically, like, in past tense, because at a point in the interview, he explained, like, I mean, I'm not on those street stuff. I mean, I'm done with it. I'm trying to rap. So when he was sharing this story, he was pretty much talking, like he was done with this stuff. So he explained, like, 13 years old, shot his first gun. I mean, then at 15 years old, 2 years later, he ended up catching an attempted murder case. Now, I mean, he got sent to PIC, certified as an adult. I mean, at 15, so he had PIC on state road. And he had to sit there for a minute, go through the trial and all that. And once he lost the case, he got sent upstate. He had to serve 8 years in prison. I mean, so he explained a little bit in the interview how it was for him when he was in PIC. I mean, wrecking, doing all the stuff he was doing, whatever, and how it was when he went upstate. I mean, he just basically shared that briefly what he was. I mean, how it was for him. And then when he came home, transitioned back home. I mean, he's basically saying he got locked up in '07, came home in pretty much 2015, which 8 years. I mean, and then at some point in time, he started getting into the music, started getting into rapping. He caught a couple cases while he was home, so he caught like 2 cases, but he beat both of them. And then, you know, once he beat the cases, he was able to focus more on the rap. He's like, I mean, like, once he started getting into rapping, you know how it go, like, you don't see no money off of it, you try to get out the streets. I mean, it'd be a hard transition. He explained that too, like, it was a hard transition trying to leave the streets alone where you're making money and trying to do rap. But he said, so basically, since that time, you know, since you've been home, active on a rap type time, he was explaining to me off camera, like, and you told on camera, like, all the stuff you've been through, as far as the jail stuff and the street stuff and all that. But you also said, like, you basically done with the streets at this point, and you really try and focus solely on music, because you see it's a potential for you to make some money and take care of your family with the music. So speak on that transition, like, going from, you know, I'm going to leave the streets alone, I'm going to focus on the music. Like, what that transition been like for you trying to go all the way legal?
Like, this shit, at first it was hard and shit, you feel me? Cause like, I came home and shit. You know, niggas put me on like from the rip, you know, Simon from Murder Gang, shout out him. And then Lee Marsh, OBH, he introduced me to A, you feel me, ad, free ad. And, you know, them niggas, ad taught me how to record in the booth, all that shit, you feel me? That nigga taught me everything I know on the rap tip, and that nigga taught me how to man, that nigga taught me a lot of shit, whatever and shit, you feel me? And then after that, I wanted to take this shit serious, but I kept catching cases, whatever. My last bid, I dropped my first mixtape, Lawyer Fees, 500. I dropped that joint on iTunes while I was locked up and shit, you feel me? I came home to probably like 4,800, some shit. That's why I'm like, man, fucking, I'm about to do this rap shit, you feel me? Like, I ain't nothing to do, but it's hard, you feel me? You out here in the streets, you making money and shit, you feel me? You make your little stack a day, now you 3,500 a day or whatever and shit you making, and then say I ain't trapping no more. Like I ain't doing none of that shit. You feel me? I'm just gonna rock with whatever I got saved up and shit like that. That shit get hard. You ain't doing shit but spending your money and shit. You be ready to get the fuck up, but now I'm on the tip. My feature price went up. We making money on everything we drop, you feel me? And I'm surrounded by the same niggas that want to do the same shit as me, you feel me? Some honorable niggas and shit, so like, that shit ain't nothing no more, you feel me? That shit sweet.
He explained that when he did his last little stretch when he got locked up, wherever however long that was, he had dropped a mixtape on iTunes like right before he went in or as he was in there. And I think it was called Lawyer Fees. He said he made some bread off of it, like $4,800 or something like that. Over like I know he said over $4,000. He made like over $4,000 off of that project. And he said once he did that, he realized like, oh, there's some music in it. I mean, some money in the music, so it made him want to gravitate towards it even more. Like, so that's when he got active. He dropped a lot of, I mean, music, visuals. He got a nice amount of visuals on YouTube, and a lot of them got hundreds of thousands of views and stuff. So King Lord made a nice little wave for himself on some drill. I mean, he was one of them drill rappers in Philly, like, I mean, who had a wave and a lot of people was listening to. A lot of people was fucking with his music. Like, he had a nice little wave with that. So I wasn't familiar with him prior to the interview, but he had a wave. And then once I got familiar with him and started doing more research on him, I realized, like, yeah, you mean, like, he definitely was official and had a wave. But like I mentioned before, at the time we did this interview, he explained to me off camera, like, bro, I'm really trying to do the music, my man. I'm really trying to leave the streets alone. You know, I keep my gat on me though. You know, I keep my gat on me, and I ain't ducking no smoke. But I ain't really trying. You know what I mean? I'm really trying to do the music. So he explained to me that off camera, and he shared that on camera. Like, I mean, like, but you know, and he also explained how he connected with Leak Moss and all that. Like, OBH had a battle. They hosted like a battle, had rappers come through and battle for like a cash prize and all that. So King Lord was one of the rappers that came through, and he pretty much won the battle and won the bread. And him and Bleak Moss built the relationship from there. Like, they became cool. Bleak Moss introduced him to Ad, and then they built their own relationship. And he basically said Ad showed him how to like rap on the booth, showed him how to record and all of that. Like, cause he was new at rapping, he didn't really know. And he pretty much said Ad kind of put him on, showed him some stuff, and I mean, so he wasn't officially OBH, but you know he OBH affiliated because he cool with him or whatever. So yeah, that was pretty much like the gist of the interview for the most part. You know, he plugged this music, let people know we had going on, but I mean, that was like the gist of it because it was like an introduction drink. I mean, get people a little bit familiar with him and all of that. Like I said, I think that was his first interview we ever done. So, I mean, just letting people know a little bit about his story and all. So we ain't go too deep into anything particular. We ain't, drag the whole joint out. Just a nice little short, brief, but impactful interview. Like, it had like 20-something thousand, 30,000 views or something like that right now. Nothing too crazy, but it's a good joint for somebody that's underground, up and coming, that that wasn't on the scene that long. I mean, like a nice little joint. Like, so after we did the interview, he was real appreciative of it. I reached out to him like, bro, send me. Y'all know I had the flicks and all that in there. I thought you would send me some flicks. So I could put in a joint. He sent me some joints. Then after the interview dropped, he asked me for some clips and all that. I sent him the joint. Sent him the interview so he could watch it. He was fucking with it. He asked me to send him some clips. I sent it to him. And it was regular shit. Like, he was cool. We ain't really talk too much after that, but we did. One time I posted something about a rap situation. I forget exactly what it was, but I don't know if it was like a rap contest or something that was beneficial to artists. And he had reached out to me like, bro, plug me in with that joint. I was like, yeah, I got you, bro. He was appreciative of that. Like, so he seemed like he really was trying to rap and do music and take it all the way serious. But I guess he was too far. I mean, caught up in whatever he was caught up in streetwise, and it caught up to him one day. Like it was what March 31st, 2020. I mean, late at night, like 12 at night or something like that, or after that. I mean, yeah, got hit up. I mean, unfortunately, he ain't survived.
Fighting for his life after he was shot multiple times in East Falls. Eyewitness News found this car all shot up along the 3500 block of Indian Queen Lane. Police say they found 30 spent shell casings at the scene. They've also recovered a gun and say the victim may have returned fire.
Cops did say it's crazy because cops said he returned fire. I mean, that's what the report was on the news. So that made me think back to what he said, during the, when we did the interview. Like, I mean, I keep my John on me. Like, it made me think about him saying that. Like, and he said something crazy in the interview too. Like,
niggas know my story. You feel me? Like, niggas know my story, man. All my shit, I put everything in my raps. You feel me? DA bring it up. Everybody knows what's going on out here. You feel me? We got a very public situation and shit. You feel me? And whatever the outcome is, I'm ready for whatever the outcome is and shit, you feel me? Cause like, that shit just in my bloodline, you feel me? Ain't too much to rap about, you feel me? I really don't give a fuck, to be honest, but like I said, I'm done with this street shit, tap the fuck out. We gonna do this music shit, we gonna have this shit rolling, we gonna drop these vids, you feel me? And we gonna come the fuck up, man.
He made a crazy statement in the interview that, when he passed, it made me think about that. Like, he kind of, he kind of knew something could happen because, he was in the mix of what he was in the mix of, but he was trying trying to go a different direction. But I guess it was just too late for him. Unfortunately. And, when he passed, his music, a lot of people gravitated towards music, you know how that go, like. But you could see that he definitely had an impact with his music. He definitely had a wave. A lot of people reacted to it, like his passing and stuff like that. Seeing a lot of people post him, a lot of people knew about him, a lot of people know him. So, it was just a crazy situation, to see, damn, another person I interviewed had on a platform, built some type of rapport with. Died to the streets of Philly. It's just crazy every time, no matter what the circumstances. Like I said, I don't know what the circumstances is. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. But it's just crazy every time it happened, no matter what the circumstances is. Like, damn, what? So yeah, and sometime after he died, I had did another joint with Leak Moss. I linked that up with Leak Moss. I definitely asked him about, the King Lord situation when I saw him. Like, the first time I saw him after King Lord died. And one thing that he said was, it's like, man, I told him, to stop, doing that this rap stuff, this and the dead and all that,
You made a comment and you said, yes, this is something that I would love to talk about because I want people to know how much he was such a beautiful soul. So,
who you was talking about?
King Lord.
King Lord? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lil. I always called him Lil for some reason. No, for real, I should have called him what he told me to call him. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what he felt like he was.
Right.
But, yeah, that guy was misguided, man. But he had a great soul. Man. His joint was what he loved too hard. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because as I'm talking to him, he man, I don't even be happy. He ain't really had beefs. He just loved who he loved, and that aligned him with certain people. Mm-hmm. That you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he did have a beef, but he knew who he had a beef with. But the whole city had a beef with him because of who he was aligned to. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it was damn. And I'm trying to tell him that you on a Chicago wave, man. Why are you throwing people? Nothing really good. I don't really think nothing good gonna come out of taunting nobody that's dead. I don't think you're gonna ever. You see, and I used to try to tell him don't, why you keep doing that, man? Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So that shit it hurt me. It kind of pushed me in a way that the direction that I was going. Because that kid, he taught me a lot, man. Because I knew he was a great guy.
Right.
Just misguided.
Right.
And I felt like I was a great guy and I was being misguided. So I said, you know what I mean? Because when you see a great guy misguided, every time you see a great guy that's misguided and something happened to him, and you look at yourself as great, you got to look at your guidance now. Because if I'm misguided, I'm going to meet that same...
Right, that's his fate.
Same fate. So I think that's what kind of pushed me.
Because King Lord was heavy, like I said, he was a heavy drill rapper, you know what I mean? Like, and then, you know, that's what type time drill, that's how drill rappers rap. You know, he talk about ops, he talking about dead people and all of that. So he's like, that's one thing that he said that stuck out to me. Not saying that he said that that's the reason that he died, but he just like, I guess he just was saying like, I guess the energy behind that, speaking on, you know, talk about people, dead homies and stuff like that. He was like, because Leak Moss a little older, like King Lord younger. He still was in his 20s. He died when he was like 25, I believe, or something like that. So he was a younger guy, still in his 20s. Like Leak Moss a little older. Leak Moss in his 30s. So Leak Moss don't come from that era of rap where people, you know, diss the dead and all that. Like even though OBH rap hard and street and all that, they didn't go that far with it, you know what I mean? So that's one of the things he said when I asked him about, like then that King Lord, because I know that's his man, because, you know, that's how I met King Lord, through Leak Moss. That's one of the things he said that stuck out. Like, man, I was telling him, like, about this and that day, like, he was trying to tell him not to do that and all that, but that was King Lord wave, that's how he was rapping, that's what type time he was on, so, you know, that was an unfortunate situation. Again, not saying that he said that had anything to do with it. He ain't say that at all. Like, that's just one thing that he said, amongst other things they said, because he spoke highly of King Lord. I mean, he liked it. Obviously, he was hanging with him, he was doing music with him, they had music together and all of that. So he thought highly of him. He was just trying to caution him against doing that type of stuff, which is what a lot of people do, like, who don't agree with drill rap. Like, try to caution the younger guys not to do, you know, but that's their culture and that's their wave, like, and that's how they carry it. It's popular, you know. Lil Durk and them, Chief Keef and them made it popular, so a lot of the younger guys gravitated towards that, and that's how they carrying it. So that's part of the reason why this series called Drilladelphia, because, you know, Philadelphia is on that drill. It became a real heavy drill wave in Philly, so, you know. Yeah. And sometime after he died, you know, some time passed, you know, and it had been rumored, you know, that the girl Pilar, I don't know how to pronounce her name, you know, I ain't too sure, but she was alleged to have, you know, set him up, backdoored him or whatever. So I guess they was dealing with each other, you know, and you know, they labeled her the Philly backdoor queen, you know what I mean? They just did an interview with her on Say Cheese not that long ago that got, you know, a couple 100,000 views and all that. So, you know, allegedly she had, I gotta say allegedly, that's just the rumors that's on the internet, so I just had to put that out there that, you know, this is one of the people she had alleged to have, you know, set up or whatever. Man. Crazy situation, bro. Like, man, like, I don't know if it's true or not. I guess I'm just speaking on what's out there. Man. Crazy, man. So R.I.P. to King Lord. I mean, he definitely was a cool dude from what I could see, and I mean from the time that I know him. Like I said, we did the interview in August 2019, and he died in March of 2020. And that's another thing too. It seemed like the guys that I interview, like, the interview drop, and then it don't be a year before they go on. And not saying that they don't say nothing in the interview to contribute to it, so I ain't saying the interview got nothing to do with it, because it definitely don't got nothing to do with nothing. I'm just saying it's crazy, like, every time, for the people that I featured so far, like Shy Money, Episode 1, Lil Mary, Episode 2, the dates that we dropped the interview and the time that they passed is less than a year away. So this another one, and it's crazy and it's sad, man. Like, crazy situation, but I mean, we gonna conclude it on that note. We going that's the end of this episode 3. Drilladelphia. And stay tuned for episode 4 coming soon, as well as other content dropping real soon. Appreciate everybody that been tapping in, showing love to the platform. In the meantime, check out all the past content that we got on our channel if you didn't already. Like and subscribe to the channel if you didn't already. In the meantime, and we'll see you on the next episode. We signing out. PhillyFAME TV, we out here.